Hello and welcome. Today I want to discuss the basics of how to use the technical analysis library TA-Lib in Python so you can start building your own trading algorithms. In this video, you will learn how TA-Lib works under the hood, how to implement code to calculate technical indicators, how to visualize the indicators, how to combine indicators, how to build a backtest based on the indicator, and how to analyze the performance of the backtest. If you are new to programming, please check out my Udemy course, Python for Traders and Investors. The course will also provide a Jupyter notebook that accompanies the video. You can find the link in the description below, and if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Much of systematic trading and investing is based on technical indicators. These are values derived from the historical price and volume action that can provide traders with additional insight for their trading decisions. For example, if the relative strength index RSI is above a threshold, it indicates that the stock is overbought and we might decide to go short. There is a wide range of technical indicators to choose from, such as MACD, exponential moving averages, EMA, Bollinger Bands, stochastic, and many more. The technical analysis library TA-Lib conveniently provides a large number of them as well as a variety of chart patterns. Depending on your operating system, the installation of TA-Lib can occasionally be difficult as this is not a standard Python package. If you have trouble, please follow the guidelines in the description below. Personally, with a bit of effort, I have so far managed to install TA-Lib anywhere I needed to do it. You can check if TA-Lib has been installed correctly by running import TA-Lib without an error. In order to get some market data for our technical analysis, we use the Panda Starter reader, which provides price and volume data for a wide range of US equities. When we run this, we can see that it returns a Panda Starter frame with open, high, low, close, and volume data. Before starting to do quantitative analysis, I always recommend to ensure that the data are correct. A quick visual inspection of the price plot is very helpful to check if there are any gaps or outliers in our price data that could skew the indicator values. Once we have the data, TA-Lib is fairly simple to use. For our first example, we choose a simple moving average, which we can find under the acronym SMA. We feed it the close price of our price data and also tell TA-Lib to use a loopback window of 200. What this means is that at any given time t, this indicator calculates the average of all the values from t minus the loopback window to t, for example 200 days. Now we can plot both prices and moving average. We can see that the SMA curve only starts after some time, and this is because initially there are not enough prices available to fill the loopback window. We can also see that the SMA is essentially a smoothing function of the underlying price curve. Be aware that most indicators are based on the calculation of historical values and therefore they exhibit a lagging behavior with respect to the underlying price. We can see this in our chart where the smooth peaks in the SMA trail the peaks in the price curve. When using one of the functions in TA-Lib, it can help greatly to look up its use in the Dockstring. This is demonstrated here with the question mark operator. It opens up a Dockstring window which provides essential information on the name of the function, as well as inputs and outputs. Since it can sometimes be hard to find good documentation for packages such as this, the Dockstrings can be a valuable resource. We can also look up all the available TA-Lib functions by using the dir or directory operator. There's a wide range of them, and I leave it to you to explore them in depth. From the above, you will notice that a significant number of indicator names start with CDL. These are specific candlestick patterns that the TA-Lib can recognize. Take, for example, the CDL Doji pattern, which Investopedia explains as a session in which the candlestick for a security has an open and close that are virtually equal and are often components in patterns. Let's see if this pattern exists in our series. First, we need to find out the required inputs with question mark TA-Lib.cdl Doji and find that it requires OHLC data and returns either -100, 0, or +100. From our plot, we can see that in the course of 1 year between May 2015 and April 2016, we get 33 signals. Some indicators return multiple values, such as the Bollinger Band indicator or B bands. Let's see what it's got. Question mark tlab.b bands. Notice that it outputs three values: upper band, middle band, and lower band. For inputs, we need to provide a loopback window, here called time period, and the multipliers for the bands, which are expressed as the standard deviations above and below the moving average. This slide shows the visual implementation of the bands, along with the price chart. A simple systematic trading strategy would trade long when the price goes below the lower band and short when the price exceeds the upper band. A nice way to practice working with TA-Lib is to visualize the oscillation of the price around the mean, as shown here. In times of crisis, these price deviations become very large indeed. In many cases, a single indicator will not yield good results on its own, but it is easy to combine indicators with many types of mathematical functions. In this case, we create a normalized moving average difference. We do this by subtracting a 100-day moving average from a 50-day moving average, and then divide by the latter in the hope that it might have some value in predicting stock returns. To check our work, let's first plot the dual moving average. We can see that in a strong uptrend, the 50-day moving average is usually above the 100-day moving average, and vice versa. When we plot the normalized moving average indicator, we can see that it oscillates around the zero line, as we would expect with the large deviations indicating a trend. Let's now plot the periods where our indicator directs us to go long or to go short. For simplicity, we step through each price and color code our data points according to the sign of the signal. Signals below a threshold are regarded as neutral and coded in blue. We can see that our indicator can determine strong trends, but also exhibits a significant amount of overshoot when the price momentum turns in the opposite direction. Let's check how the strategy would have performed over time. In order to do this, we will use the direction of our moving average difference as an entry signal and exit n days in the future. This means that we actually end up with overlapping trades. Normally, we think of trades having an entry and exit. The reason why we evaluate our strategy this way is because it is independent of our starting time. If, on the other hand, we would work with regular entries and exits, a small change in the start time of our backtest can lead to wildly different results, since when we are in a position, we are barred from entering another one, even if our signal looks favorable. To do this, we first need to create a function for our future or forward returns. This is shown below. We shift our price series by the window we want to explore and calculate the percentage returns. Next, we calculate the PNL for each period by multiplying the sign of our trading signal with +1 for long and -1 for short with the forward returns. We can see that we divide the sum of all PNLs by our return window because we are dealing with overlapping trades. This figure shows the distribution of our PNLs. It appears to be somewhat bimodal, but there are not enough data points to say that with certainty. So, since we have overlapping trades, we will actually scale in and out of positions as time goes on, and the next chart shows the position size over time. Since our trading window is 30 days, this will also be our maximum position size. We can see that at times we are maximum long or maximum short, depending on the direction of the trend. Finally, let's plot the cumulative PNL curve of the strategy. We are calculating the cumulative sum of our PNLs, which means that we assume our profits are not reinvested. This usually leads to more stable and realistic PNL curves for our backtests. Our results show that this particular strategy, whilst it returns a profit, is very volatile and probably will require a lot more work to be really useful. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel or head over to Udemy for our Python for Traders and Investors course, which you'll find in the link below. See you next time!